Aloha folks and welcome. Today we're going to talk about wedges. I think it's going to probably take more than one video to talk about wedges. There's a lot of things to discuss, but today we're going to talk about how many wedges we should carry and what lofts, okay? Why are wedges so important? Why did I decide to talk about wedges today? Well, I thought, I'm a lot happier personally when I play better. And usually when I'm playing better, I am saving more pars when I miss the green, and I'm getting more birdies on the par fives when I have a short wedge shot in there and I can hit it closer and make the putt. So I thought, oh, I'll talk about wedges today. And hopefully that'll help you folks play better golf too. Okay, so how many should you have? Well, I think you should have as many as you can, but typically that'll be about 4, right? Lob wedge, sand wedge, gap wedge, pitching wedge, okay? The other day, fellows in the shop said he didn't have a lob wedge. Same guy asked me about a 50-degree wedge. He already had a 52, so that's kind of like 2 gap wedges. So I could tell right away that he didn't really understand the importance of, how many wedges he should carry and proper spacing or gapping, okay? So that made me think, oh, I think I should talk about that today, okay? So you should have about 4 wedges again, and you should start with your pitching wedge, which is usually a part of your set. Now, if the set of irons that you're going to purchase has an option to get all the wedges, then I would just get them all because they're built for that set. Typically, when you have a set of clubs that have all the wedges, the more lofted wedges like the lob wedge and the sand wedge might not be as flexible around the greens, opening them up and stuff like that, or playable. I mean, you might say that might not be the best way to put it, but it usually matches your set well, and then you're able to, when you're hitting full shots into the green, they tie in to your irons really well, and you don't have to have too many abbreviated type swings where you're trying to knock one down in between. And for the most part, as much as possible, you want to try to keep it to full swings. If you have to choke down a little bit to take a little off, that's better. But abbreviating swings, sometimes it makes it a little more complicated than it needs to be, and consistency is a lot better. But anyways, kind of getting off the subject, back to the wedges. So you got the 4 wedges. Start off with the pitching wedge. Pitching wedge usually come in there nowadays at about 46 degrees. So add 4 degrees to that. That gives you 50 degrees. Add 4 degrees to that. Gives you 54. Add 4 is 58. That would be the proper gapping, 4 degrees between each wedge. Why is that important? Well, because again, kind of like what we were talking about earlier, you're going to get proportionately an increase or decrease in distance consistently from one club to the other. You don't feel like you have to manipulate too much, and that makes it a lot easier. Again, a little off the subject, but I encourage all of you to check out Dave Pell's Short Game Bible, I think it was called, but he has this formula. It's really cool where you get the different wedges, the different gaps. You have them straight away. You choke up on the club. You take the club back to your knee height, to your hip height, to your shoulder height. You open it up a little bit, the same amount for each club. And all of these things give you a variety of distances and trajectories, but it's all consistent because it's you kind of employing the same technique for every swing. Anyways, well, if you have the set gapped properly, you're already set up to do that. And you don't have to do it exactly how he says, but you get the picture, right? And it's all about being consistent. So I really think you should take advantage of that. And then getting back to the guy I was talking about not having a lob wedge. Well, I think it's important that, you have that lob wedge. Some people say, well, I can't even hit my sand wedge. Lob wedge is hard. But you know what? When the lob wedge is, you don't have to hit it all the time. But it's going to make a big difference when you're greenside and you're short-sided. You don't have too much green to work with, and you got a lot of rough, and you got to kind of loft it onto the green and try to stop it quickly. Well, if you try to do that with your 56-degree wedge or your 54-degree wedge, you open it up. It's a delicate shot. You probably be more prone to miss that one. Whereas if you had a 60-degree wedge or a 58-degree wedge that you could kind of hit straight away or just open the face a little bit and give it a nice aggressive swing, you probably catch it more solidly. Ball would probably react better or respond better when it lands on a green, and up closer to the hole, maybe be able to make more putts, save more pars, that sort of thing. So I think the lob wedge is important, and I'm old school. So I come from a time where there weren't lob wedges, and then the lob wedges popped up. I was one of those guys that came along late in the game because I got the lob wedge and I kept hitting it short right, short right, short right. I said, no, it's not for me. Only problem is I only used it a couple times and I decided it wasn't for me. Well, years later, you know, everyone had a lob wedge. So I got one, stuck it in my bag, and I just kept it there. And lo and behold, after about a couple of months of having it in the bag, I figured it out. I figured out how to use it, and oh my gosh, able to get the ball a lot closer from those tight positions, okay? So I think it's very important. Get a lob wedge, get a gap wedge. You know, people say, I don't need a gap wedge. I just knock down my pitching wedge. But again, consistency, you know, I didn't used to have a gap wedge. Kind of late to the game on all these new innovations. I think I should pay closer attention to the next one. But anyway, I would always knock down my pitching wedge. And, you know, I don't practice as much as I used to when I was a younger player. And, you know, not quite as consistent. And so knocking down the pitching wedge, I wasn't, you know, hitting it as solid, you know. So one, don't hit it solid. Don't even get it to the proper distance. Then I would hit it solid, but, you know, because I'm using a 3/4 type swing, maybe hit a little too hard, a little too soft. Well, I got the gap wedge in there. Then I was able to take fuller swings and the ball goes a consistent distance. You got a rangefinder, you kind of hit your target more often. So rambling a lot, but there's a lot of good reasons to have all the wedges and properly gapped, okay? So I think that'll do it for today. Try to get, oh, I'm sorry, one more thing. They have even loftier wedges. So if someone has a lob wedge and they're like, I love this lob wedge, but I still open it up. Well, some manufacturers make 62, 64-degree wedges. Not too common, but if you're that player, you can get that one too. And you know, if it's going to help you save pars around the green, far better to stick a wedge in there that you're going to use frequently versus having that extra fairway or hybrid or driving iron at the top of your set that you don't even hit once around sometimes, right? And then when you do you hit it on the green? Yes, you do, of course. But anyway, you get the picture. But thanks for listening or watching my videos. Please tune in for the next one. Next time I'm going to talk about bounce. Okay? Aloha.